I'm Professor Spillman with Heritage Baptist College. Our study for this hour is the Minor Prophets, book written by Timothy Tao. And for the students that are here in the classroom, for those of you who are looking online, this is the first map that I handed out tonight. The reason I've handed these maps out is that you'll notice on the maps that the various tribes of Israel are listed and their areas are outlined. Now, I gave you two maps tonight. I gave you that one and as you know, everything gets scrambled. And then I gave you this one. Yeah. This is a simplified map. It's easier to use. It's easier to find things on. And you will notice that between the two of them, the divisions of the tribes are not the same between the two maps. Yeah. They're not quite the same. It has to do with the authors of the maps. And I think that you could probably make them work as we go through our scriptures, but just so that you know what they're there for. In our lessons tonight, we're going to start talking about Shamir. Shamir is Samaria, and you notice right there on your map, it says Shamir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Shamir,
okay? That's the city of Samaria in the country of Samaria.
Oh.
You see it?
Yeah, mine too.
That's going to be one of the first things that we mention in tonight's lesson.
Samaria.
Samaria.
Shamir
yeah.
is Samaria. Yes.
So that's occupied by the tribe of Manasseh.
Right there.
Yes. Right here.
Okay. Everybody find it?
Yeah. Yes.
If you try to find it on this map, good luck. Okay. That's why I gave you this map.
Okay.
Although there are things on this map that you'll find useful, this one is a little easier just for quick reference. Okay? And I recommend that you put them in the front just because we're at the start right now of everything. And I gave you another paper, is the timelines of kings and prophets in the Old Testament. Okay, it's a two-sided paper. It'll take you all the way from 800 BC to 440 BC. Okay? And the reason I gave you these timelines is there were some questions that came up last week. One of the questions I heard that was asked was this during the time of King Solomon's reign? No, it was not. Okay? King Solomon reigned from about 962 to 922. Okay? That's not in this timeline that I gave you because it's past history as far as these prophets are concerned. These prophets are prophets that came along due to the split of the kingdoms, the two kingdoms, which happened after Solomon. Okay? And the first king of Judah that we come on to is Joash, and the king of Israel at that time was Jeroboam II. And if you look at this big timeline that I gave you, you'll find those in there. I won't mention timelines an awful lot as we go through here, but you will find them referred to by name in the text in various places. But it'll be up to you if you want to know information about who was reigning at the time, what's going on now. You've got the timeline here, you can look it up. okay?
Okay.
I spent a good deal of time looking up timelines and I found that these timelines and maps that I've given you tonight are all in the public domain. At least they were marked that way on the internet. They were printed from the internet, and permission was with each respective one. The people that provided them. The timeline is created by Jessica Lee for the Bethel Leadership Institute. I don't know who those folks are. I'm just thankful that they've made it public domain so that we can use it. Yeah. And likewise with the maps. Maps are very difficult to get good maps, but these two are probably some of the best for this particular time frame. I think as you study your Old Testament prophets, you're going to find that any set of maps you look at, they're going to have the Sea of Galilee will be the Sea of Chinnereth. It'll be the Sea of Tiberias. It'll be a different shape, a little different shape, one way or another. You're looking for Jericho and Gilgal. You'll find them in a little bit different places proportionally on some maps than where they are on other maps. So you've got to remember that they didn't use real sophisticated measuring instruments in those days. And consequently, when somebody drew a map, it was a lot of times just from memory. And they had measured in paces. And one man's paces might not have been the same as the next guy who wrote the different maps. So, sir.
That's why it was, in Old Testament law, it was death penalty to move a marker.
Yeah, do not move the ancient landmark. Remember
They
that.
speak of that a lot, and you wonder why.
Sir?
They speak that way a lot, and I wondered why for a long time.
Well, how would you know where to put it back?
Well, in the United States, you'll find that the U.S. Geological Survey drives a device into the ground that's about this big around on the head, and it's got a shaft about this big around. It goes down about 3 feet in the ground. It's driven in a place that's proven and measured, and it's put there as a marker so you can find things. Even in my driveway, believe it or not, there's a marker. It's a bolt head that's put in the concrete in the sidewalk.
Got a cross on it?
No, it's just a bolt head, but it's put there for a reason, and that is your property line. It was put there by a professional surveyor. I know mine isn't quite accurate because
Brass?
Huh?
Brass?
No, the one that's in mine is carbon steel. It was supposed to be stainless. We told him to use a stainless steel bolt when he put it in there, and he put a carbon steel bolt in there, and of course now there's a puddle of rust around it all the time. Okay, but we know where it is. We know what it's there for. Okay, it's a permanent marker, and the reason we had to do that was that the original one got destroyed when the driveways were modified. But my neighbor's property line actually encroaches on mine about 3 inches or 4 inches. I actually own his chain link fence that he put between our properties.
Oh, yeah.
But since he spent the money to put that in there and put about a 2 foot deep foundation under that fence out of good concrete, I wasn't about to argue with him about
Yeah.
the property line through there.
3 inches wasn't worth arguing about, was it?
Well, it is dollar wise, but it's ridiculous to argue about it.
Yeah.
And if someone in the future wants to argue about it, they can have all the bloodletting they want. And they can tear the fence out. And they can do whatever they want to do
Right.
along there. But I don't think I'm going to be around when that happens.
Yeah.
Have a lifetime warranty.
So I'm not going to worry about that. But folks, geography is important to us in a lot of ways. Sometimes it's really hard. I know Dan has a lot of trouble remembering where places are, and I do too, for that matter. And it's good to have a map to refer to. And if you can get your hands on good maps, that's one thing. I've been fortunate to be gifted with books and maps and books of maps. And when I see a new one, there was a new one that came out last year by a very popular publishing company. In fact, we've used some of their materials here in our classes that came out. And I looked at that book and I told Judy that I had to have this book, that it was begging me to buy it. And, and it's been very helpful to me.
Like a magnet.
It's very nice. It's a map book, and it was not cheap. However, you've been blessed by some of the results of my study of that book. I've been blessed to be able to bring it to you. So, just let you know the importance of maps and timelines. We're not going to refer to timelines an awful lot in here because we have an awful lot of material to cover. But at the same time, we're going to try to get through every session. We're going to have to try to cover at least 10 pages of material from our textbook. And that sounds like a lot, but when you get down to it, as in the example of Hosea, the chapters are not very long, okay? And 10 pages of 16-point type won't take very long to get through. So let's proceed. We're going to take up now in chapter 7 of Hosea. And
Page 24.
yes, page 24, that's where we left off at the end of last week. And if you'd like to follow me in your Bibles, and we'll also probably be reading over some of this as we get into the text. But I'd like to read the whole chapter of Hosea 7 for you first, before we get into the text. So beginning with verse 1, he says, "When I would have healed Israel, then the iniquity of Ephraim was discovered, and the wickedness of Samaria. For they commit falsehood, and the thief cometh in, and the troop of robbers spoileth without." Now, if you look on your maps, and you find Samaria, or Shamir, as it's marked on the map. Now, Shamir may not be exactly where Samaria was, but I believe it's the same city, as close as I've been able to determine. Okay, so on your map, right about in the middle there, I held it up and put my finger on it for you. That Shamir is the city we're talking about here. And it says, "And the thief cometh in, and the troop of robbers spoileth without. And they consider not in their hearts that I remember all their wickedness. Now their own doings have beset them about. They are before my face. They make the king glad with their wickedness, and the princes with their lies. They are all adulterers, as an oven heated by the baker, who ceaseth from raising after he hath kneaded the dough, until it be leavened. In the day of our king, the princes have made him sick with bottles of wine. He stretched out his hand with scorners. For they have made ready their heart like an oven. Whilst they lie in wait, their baker sleepeth all the night. In the morning it burneth as a flaming fire. They are all hot as an oven, and have devoured their judges. All their kings are fallen. There is none among them that calleth unto me. Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned." What happens, ladies, when you're baking something like a pancake, okay, and you don't turn it? What happens to it?
It burns.
It's half baked.
Yeah.
Well, it's just basically ruined, isn't it? Because all the bubbles come up, and you haven't turned it over to let those bubbles even back out into a cake. So you end up with a funny looking piece of bread with a lot of holes in it.
Right.
And it's not very tasty, is it, Miss Candy?
It's
No.
like Swiss cheese.
So Ephraim, he hath mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned. Strangers have devoured his strength, and he knoweth it not. Yea, gray hairs are here and there upon him, yet he knoweth not. And the pride of Israel testifieth to his face, and they do not return to the Lord their God, nor seek him for all this. Ephraim also is like a silly dove without heart. They call to Egypt. They go to Assyria. Now, if you look at your map, Egypt is down in one extreme, and Assyria, you won't find it marked on your map, but it's up above the north end of those maps. Assyria is way up above the place on the map that's marked as Syria or Tyrus, Tyre, Phoenicia, up above that area. Okay? It says, when they shall go, I will spread my net upon them. I will bring them down as the fowls of the heaven. I will chastise them as their congregation hath heard. Woe unto them, for they have fled from me. Destruction unto them, because they have transgressed against me. Though I have redeemed them, yet they have spoken lies against me. And they have not cried unto me with their heart when they howled upon their beds. They assemble themselves for corn and wine, and they rebel against me. Though I have bound and strengthened their arms, yet do they imagine mischief against me. They return, but not to the Most High. They are like a deceitful bow. Their princes shall fall by the sword for the rage of their tongue. This shall be their derision in the land of Egypt. And we go to our text now, page 24. It says, Jehovah charges, when I would have healed Israel, then is revealed the iniquity of Ephraim and the wickedness of Samaria, that they commit falsehood. Samaria here sustains the same relationship to Israel that Jerusalem does to Judah. Samaria, capital of the northern kingdom, is the very source of corruption of the whole country. In modern times, she is like Bangkok, the sex capital of Thailand, according to the British publication. The wicked deeds of the nation crowded around them as witnesses to reveal their treason against Jehovah. You'll find this gentleman making references in this writing to things that go on over in Asia because he's an Asian person. He is from there. He has a great mission going there in the city of Singapore. Okay? And he knows about these things. He knows that Bangkok is the sex capital of Thailand. It's practically the sex capital of Asia, in fact. The wicked deeds of the nation crowded around them as witnesses to reveal their treason against Jehovah. This evil arouses no alarm, but rather gladness in the hearts of their kings and governors. They are prone to evil, but not to good. Their lustfulness is compared to a baker's oven, which must be constantly fueled, except when the baker is kneading the dough. The fire of lustfulness is an ever-burning rage. This burning rage is further sustained by filling up the king and his princes with wine. Being drunk, the king joins the company of the dissolute and depraved. This is totally contrary to the preacher's teaching. It is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. Those are the proverbs that were written by Solomon's mother to him. Okay, Proverbs 31, verses 4 through 5. Ephraim is a cake not turned. This refers to the destructive effect of foreign influences. Ephraim was consumed by the poisonous fumes of Baal worship with all the lustful practices. A cake burnt on one side to a cinder, on the other is a condition utterly unfit for food. Ephraim is ruined. Okay, now we're going to proceed to chapter 8, Hosea chapter 8. We have to keep moving here. We have a lot of text to cover. Hosea chapter 8, beginning at verse 1, he says, Set the trumpet to thy mouth, he shall come as an eagle against the house of the Lord, because they have transgressed my covenant and trespassed against my law. Israel shall cry unto me, My God, we know thee. Israel hath cast off the thing that is good, the enemy shall pursue him. They have set up kings, but not by me. They have made princes, and I knew it not. Of their silver and their gold have they made them idols, that they may be cut off. Thy calf, O Samaria, hath cast thee off. Mine anger is kindled against them. How long will it be ere they attain to innocency? For from Israel was it also, the workman made it. Therefore it is not God, but the calf of Samaria shall be broken in pieces. For they have sown the wind, and they shall reap the whirlwind. It hath no stalk. The bud shall yield no meal. If so be it yield, the stranger shall swallow it up. Israel is swallowed up. Now shall they be among the Gentiles as a vessel wherein is no pleasure. For they are gone up to Assyria, a wild ass alone by himself. Ephraim hath hired lovers. Yea, though they have hired among the nations, now will I gather them, and they shall sorrow a little for the burden of the king of princes. Because Ephraim hath made many altars to sin, altars shall be unto him to sin. I have written to him the great things of my law, but they were counted as a strange thing. They sacrifice flesh for the sacrifices of mine offerings, and eat it. But the Lord accepteth them not. Now will he remember their iniquity, and visit their sins. They shall return to Egypt. For Israel hath forgotten his Maker, and buildeth temples, and Judah hath multiplied fenced cities. But I will send a fire upon his cities, and it shall devour the palaces thereof. Back to our text, page 26, chapter 8. One aspect of the theology of war. The indictment of Israel continues in another vein. Jehovah bids the prophet put the trumpet to his lips and blow a shrill blast, announcing the approach of disaster. The theology of war comes into play. The enemy Assyria is soon swooping down on Samaria because God's people have transgressed his covenant and trespassed his law. Thus Isaiah also prophesied, O Assyrian, the rod of mine anger, and the staff in their hand is mine indignation. I will send him against an hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge, to take the spoil, and to take the prey, and to tread them down like the mire of the streets. That came from Isaiah 10, verses 5 and 6. In trouble, Israel calls upon God for deliverance, but no response from him, for they have cast off their God when they did not need him. Because I have called, and ye refused, I have stretched out my hand, and no man regarded. But ye have set at naught all my counsel, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear cometh. When your fear cometh as desolation, and your destruction cometh as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish cometh upon you. Then shall they call upon me, but I will not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For that they hated knowledge, and did not choose the fear of the Lord. They would none of my counsel. They despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way, and be filled with their own devices. It goes from Proverbs 1, 24 through 31. She is now left to the mercy of her enemy. Since the death of Jeroboam II, there has been a spate of assassination of king after king, while their worship of idols in silver and gold went on abated. But the calf of Samaria will cast them off, and in turn it will be broken to pieces. The calf of Samaria is a false god. The law of divine retribution is the punishment for sin, being often a greater facility in sinning. Wind expresses what is empty and fruitless. Israel is swallowed up, a vessel devoted to vilest uses, or smashed up as worthless. Israel is like a wild ass, known for its lust, and seeks strange lovers to its own shame. For the purity of religion, Israel from the beginning had only one altar where the whole nation came together to worship. You remember Doc in his presentation Sunday night? You saw the wild ass in there?
Yeah.
They're running parallel right here, aren't they?
They were cute. I liked it. Mm-hmm.
There was no alternate place of worship. But now she has multiplied altars. The worship of God was degraded into the sensuous, approaching Baal worship. What they like to eat themselves they sacrifice. But these acts of will worship are not acceptable to God. You notice that word will worship again?
Mm-hmm.
Doing what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's will worship.
All about me.
Following, in RU we would say, walking after the flesh, right? The proliferation of temples by Israel and the increase of fenced cities by Judah would end up in their destruction. Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Psalm 127. The sign of old age are upon him. He does not know his approaching death. Like a silly dove, Israel, while paying homage to the Assyrian power, was also making alliance with Egypt, the other superpower. The result of this double dealing was disaster from the hand of God. See what they're doing? They're trying to make buddies out of the Assyrians, and they're trying to make buddies out of the Egyptians. Okay? It says, I have written to him, this is Hosea 8, 12 through 16. I have written to him the great things of my law, but they were counted as a strange thing. They sacrifice flesh for the sacrifices of mine offerings and eat it. But the Lord accepteth them not. Now will he remember their iniquity and visit their sins. They shall return to Egypt. For Israel hath forgotten his maker and buildeth temples. And Judah hath multiplied fenced cities. But I will send a fire upon his cities, and it shall devour the palaces thereof. Okay?
Return to Egypt.
And we're going to move on to chapter number 9. Hosea chapter number 9. Beginning at verse 1, it says, Rejoice not, O Israel, for joy as other people, for thou hast gone a-whoring from thy God. Thou hast loved a reward upon every corn floor. The floor and the winepress shall not feed them, and the new wine shall fail in her. They shall not dwell in the Lord's land, but Ephraim shall return to Egypt, and they shall eat unclean things in Assyria. They shall not offer wine offerings to the Lord, neither shall they be pleasing unto him. Their sacrifices shall be unto them as the bread of the mourners. All that eat thereof shall be polluted, for their bread for their soul shall not come into the house of the Lord. What will you do in the solemn day and the day of the feast of the Lord? For lo, they are gone because of destruction. Egypt shall gather them up. Memphis shall bury them. The pleasant places for their silver nettles shall possess them. Thorns shall be in their tabernacles. The days of visitation are come. The days of recompense are come. Israel shall know it. The prophet is a fool. The spiritual man is mad, for the multitude of thine iniquity and the great hatred. The watchman of Ephraim was with my God, but the prophet is a snare of a fowler in all his ways, and hatred in the house of his God. They have deeply corrupted themselves, as in the days of Gibeah. Therefore he will remember their iniquity. He will visit their sins. I found Israel like grapes in the wilderness. I saw your fathers as the first ripe, and the fig tree at her first time. But they went to Baal Peor, and separated themselves unto that shame, and their abominations were according as they loved. As for Ephraim, their glory shall fly away like a bird from the birth, and from the womb, and from the conception. Though they bring up their children, yet will I bereave them, that there shall not be a man left. Yea, woe also to them when I depart from them. Ephraim, as I saw Tyrus, is planted in a pleasant place, but Ephraim shall bring forth his children to the murderer. Give them, O Lord, what wilt thou give? Give them a miscarrying womb and dry breasts. All their wickedness is in Gilgal. If you look on your map, you'll find Gilgal's down there right above the top end of the Dead Sea, not very far from where children of Israel crossed the river with Joshua. Okay, find Gilgal.
Right above Jericho.
Okay. All their wickedness is in Gilgal, for there I hated them for the wickedness of their doings. I will drive them out of mine house. I will love them no more. All their princes are revolters. Ephraim is smitten, their root is dried up, they shall bear no fruit. Yea, though they bring forth, yet will I slay even the beloved fruit of their womb. My God will cast them away, because they did not hearken unto him, and they shall be wanderers among the nations. We'll go back to our text, page number 28. Chapter 9, God uses Assyria as his chastisement instrument. It is now harvest time, the period of annual vintage festivals. The corn is being reaped, the winepress is trodden, and the vats are overflowing. But behind the bright picture there looms to the prophet's gaze a somber background. This and the following two chapters, which form a connected whole, contains another denunciation of the abominations of idolatrous Israel. Foreseeing an Assyrian invasion, the prophet predicts the fleeing of many from Ephraim to Egypt. Others would be taken to Assyria as POWs, as prisoners of war. Their sacrifices will not be pleasing to him. It will be rather the eating of bread of sorrow, in other words, funeral food which defies for 7 days those who partake of it. Egypt and Memphis will be refugee centers of the Ephraimites when Samaria fell to the Assyrians in 722 BC. You're starting to come into your timeline up there. It says, in the days of Israel's visitation, the prophets were become crazed by the persecutions to which they were subjected. The watchman of Ephraim was a true prophet, but the ordinary prophet was a professional and false one. He was a fowler's snare in all his ways, and hatred in the house of his God. The morality of the people had sunken to the sordid depths of Gibeah. In Judges 19, he says, therefore God will visit their sins. When Israel was in the wilderness, God treasured them like grapes in the desert and the first ripe figs, but they turned from him when tempted by the Moabitish women at Baal Peor. This was a great national shame. As for Ephraim, her glory is departed like a bird flown away. She will have no childbirth, and if they have children, they will be killed. In more vivid language on God's curse of Ephraim's fertility, God will give them a miscarrying womb and dry breasts. Gilgal is one of Israel's centers of idolatrous worship. For that I hated them. All their wickedness is in Gilgal. This comes from verses 15 through 17. All their wickedness is in Gilgal, for there I hated them. For the wickedness of their doings I will drive them out of mine house. I will love them no more. All their princes are revolters. Ephraim is smitten, their root is dried up, they shall bear no fruit. Yea, though they bring forth, yet will I slay even the beloved fruit of their womb. My God will cast them away, because they did not hearken unto him, and they shall be wanderers among the nations. So very sad. All right, chapter number 10, and we're in page number 30, Hosea chapter number 10, beginning at verse number 1. We're going to find the word Bethaven as we go through this chapter, and Bethaven is the words meaning house of vanity. You know what vanity is? Remember Solomon spoke of vanity as it means nothing.
Yes.
The house of nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, the house of vanity. And that, if you think about Bethel, okay, what was Bethel? It was the house of bread, wasn't it? Okay. But Bethaven is what Bethel becomes here, and we'll see that here in a moment. We'll read Hosea chapter 10, beginning at verse 1. Israel is an empty vine. He bringeth forth fruit unto himself. According to the multitude of his fruit, he hath increased the altars. According to the goodness of his land, they have made goodly images. Their heart is divided. Now shall they be found faulty. He shall break down their altars. He shall spoil their images. For now they shall say, we have no king, because we feared not the Lord. What then should a king do to us? They have spoken words, swearing falsely and making a covenant. Thus judgment springeth up as hemlock in the furrows of the field. The inhabitants of Samaria shall fear because of the calves of Bethaven. For the people thereof shall mourn over it, and the priests thereof that rejoiced on it, for the glory thereof, because it is departed from it. You remember these calves in Bethel and Dan? Okay. They were put there so the people wouldn't travel to Jerusalem to worship God. Okay. That's where the calves were put there as substitute gods.
Steer them to idolatry.
Yeah, exactly. It shall be also carried into Assyria for a present to King Jareb. Ephraim shall receive shame, and Israel shall be ashamed of his own counsel. As for Samaria, her king is cut off as the foam upon the water. The high places also of Avon, the sin of Israel, shall be destroyed. The thorn and the thistle shall come up on their altars, and they shall say to the mountains, Cover us, and to the hills, Fall on us. O Israel, thou hast sinned from the days of Gibeah. There they stood. The battle in Gibeah against the children of iniquity did not overtake them. It is in my desire that I should chastise them, and the people shall be gathered against them when they shall bind themselves in their two furrows. And Ephraim is as an heifer that is taught and loved to tread out the corn. But I passed over her fair neck. I will make Ephraim to ride. Judah shall plow, and Jacob shall break his cloth. Excuse me. Sow to yourselves in righteousness, reap in mercy, break up your fallow ground, for it is time to seek the Lord till he come and rain righteousness upon you. Ye have plowed wickedness, ye have reaped iniquity, ye have eaten the fruit of lies, because thou didst trust in thy way, in the multitude of thy mighty men. Therefore shall a tumult arise among thy people, and all thy fortresses shall be spoiled, as Shalman spoiled Betharbel in the day of battle. The mother was dashed in pieces upon her children. So shall Bethel do unto you because of your great wickedness. In the morning shall the king of Israel utterly be cut off. Going to our text, page number 30, chapter 10. Unrepentant Samaria will be judged. And I wrote in parentheses above Samaria, Shamir, just because it's easier to find on those maps of those days. It says, although Israel is a vine that it yields luxuriantly, she is called empty because her grapes are sour. The more she becomes great in national wealth and military power, the more she builds altars to Baal and other gods. Images abound at every street corner. Misapprehending the cause of their temporal prosperity and willfully ignoring Jehovah's forbearance, they attributed their prosperity to Baal. This treacherous spirit is the same as that of the rebellious Jews that took refuge in Egypt. When Jeremiah chided them for their idolatry in a foreign land and not turning back to Jehovah, they answered the prophet, saying, But we will certainly do whatever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then we had plenty of victuals and were well and saw no evil. Jeremiah 44:17. As their heart is divided and commit perjury, they shall suffer punishment. He shall break down their altars and destroy their images. As for asking, what will he do for us? The prophet, having seen a succession of Israelite kings overthrown, predicts yet another time of anarchy. Divine judgments shall come not as a harvest, but as poisonous plants sprouting in the ridges of the fields. The inhabitants of Samaria will fear. The inhabitants of Samaria will fear because of the calves of Bethaven. Those whom they worship will be carried to Assyria for a present to King Jareb. Neither king nor priest nor idols could protect them. This King Jareb's name means fighting or quarrelsome. Interesting, isn't it? It says, neither king nor priest nor idols could protect them. In fear they wished the mountains would cover them and hide them. Israel's problem is not new. It is traced to the days of Gibeah when it broke out into gross sexual sin. This resulted in a civil war between all Israel and Benjamin. Israel won, and Gibeah and Benjamin were punished. But now it is Israel's turn to be punished. Israel has set up 2 golden calves to be worshipped at Bethel in the south and Dan in the north. Judgment must fall on Israel for the idolatrous worship. Israel is a trained heifer in treading out the corn. This is a pleasant task because the animal can eat as she works. Deuteronomy 25, verse 4. But now God will send her to hard work in the field and have a rider upon her back. She will serve Assyria. Hard times are coming. The same judgment will come to Judah through 130 years after. And I believe that is supposed to be the word though.
Though, yeah.
I saw that and moved on by. Using this figure of speech, the prophet concludes his sermon. Sow to yourselves in righteousness, reap in mercy, break up your fallow ground, for it is time to seek the Lord till he come and rain righteousness upon you. You have plowed wickedness, you have reaped iniquity, you have eaten the fruit of lies, because thou didst trust in thy way in the multitude of thy mighty men. Therefore shall a tumult arise among thy people, and all thy fortresses shall be spoiled, as Shalman spoiled Betharbel in the day of battle. The mother was dashed in pieces upon her children. So shall Bethel do unto you, because of your great wickedness. In a morning shall the king of Israel utterly be cut off. We go to chapter 11 on page number 32, and we're going to proceed a little bit farther possibly than you've read. That's okay. Chapter 11. Hosea chapter 11, beginning at verse number 1. Says, when Israel was a child, then I loved him and called my son out of Egypt. Now, can you remember where Jesus went when the proclamation came out to kill all the babies? Where did they go with Jesus? They went to Egypt, didn't they?
Yeah.
And he was called back out of Egypt to minister, wasn't he? It says, as they called them, so they went from them. They sacrificed unto Baalim and burned incense to graven images. I taught Ephraim also to go, taking them by their arms, but they knew not that I healed them. I drew them with cords of a man, with bands of love, and I was to them as they that take off the yoke on their jaws, and I laid meat unto them. He shall not return into the land of Egypt, but the Assyrian shall be his king, because they refused to return. And the sword shall abide on his cities, and shall consume his branches, and devour them because of their own counsels. And my people are bent to backsliding from me. Though they called them to the Most High, none at all would exalt him. How shall I give thee up, Ephraim? How shall I deliver thee, Israel? How shall I make thee as Admah? How shall I set thee as Zeboim? Mine heart is turned within me, my repentings are kindled together. I will not execute the fierceness of mine anger, I will not return to destroy Ephraim. For I am God, and not man, the Holy One in the midst of thee, and I will not enter into the city. They shall walk after the Lord, he shall roar like a lion. When he shall roar, then the children shall tremble from the west. They shall tremble as a bird out of Egypt, and as a dove out of the land of Assyria, and I will place them in their houses, saith the Lord. Ephraim compasseth me about with lies, and the house of Israel with deceit. But Judah yet ruleth with God, and is faithful with the saints. Now you've got to remember that changes in 130 years. But chapter 11, back to our text, page 32, he says, up to this point, the prophet's message to Israel is one of condemnation, but henceforth consolation. In Chinese idiom, it is tasting increasing sweetness like munching a sugar cane. Here's another one of his things from Asia. In Chinese idiom, it is tasting increasing sweetness like munching a sugar cane. Now, I know that can be done in this country because they raised a lot of sugar cane in this country. But a lot of us have never been around it. I've never been around sugar cane. I've never munched on it. I've come very close to it in Hawaii, but I never got actually to the field to try it.
And it sounds like the more you chew, the sweeter it gets.
Yeah.
The more you chew, the sweeter it gets. That's what the idea is here.
Amen.
It says the prophet looks back to God's saving act in plucking Israel when she was young out of Egypt because God loved her. He sent Moses down to Egypt, didn't he?
Yeah.
When he was down in Midian, we've been studying the life of Moses. It's kind of fun to see some of this interact here. It says, the prophet looks back to God's saving act in plucking Israel when she was young out of Egypt because God loved her. This verse is quoted by Matthew as reflective of God's love for his only begotten Son, and that he also called him back from Egypt to Israel. The Lord Jesus, who is born a Jew, is identifying himself with the people of Israel. Now, despite Israel's offering sacrifices and incense to the gods of Baal, God loves her and heals her as a father. Nevertheless, they will be taken captive to Assyria, though they would choose rather to go to Egypt. Their exile into Assyria is the result of their refusing to return to their God. So the sword shall abide on their cities, and shall consume his branches and devour them, because of their own counsels. For this is God's chastisement on a backsliding people. In spite of the fact they deserve it, God, as a father, is slow to hand over his child to punishment. God treats Israel as he did to Admah and Zeboim, two cities linked to the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Though they are guilty of the same sins, Jehovah is reticent to give them the same punishment. Jehovah's heart is in tension because of the covenant he made with Israel. Though his judgment against Israel shall be severe, it will not obliterate them, for God will keep his covenant with them. This leads us to the days of the millennium. When he comes, he will roar like a lion against Israel's enemies, and those dispersed in the war shall return. Those dispersed to the south will return, as will those from the north and east. As for now, Israel is still very sinful and deceitful. Judah, by comparison, is in God's favor. Okay. And next week we will take up on page number 34. I believe that was the ending page that we had prescribed for your reading. And we'll take up on that page, number 34, and we'll proceed to, let's see, way up here. We'll finish up Hosea next week, and we will get into Joel.
Brother Jerry,
Sir.
I'm noticing on this map, there's a country of Dan and there's a city of Dan.
Yes.
And that's what had me confused at first.
Well, Dan is the tribe of Dan. What you're looking at is the tribe of Dan.
Their territory.
That's when he's talking about Ephraim. He's talking about the place in the middle of there. It's marked in yellow. It says Ephraim.
Right on the Mediterranean Sea.
He's talking about those people.
The reason why that kind of confused me because in the text it talks about Dan to the north, and I see a little tiny city named Dan up in the children of Naphtali in that province, and then down below there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you for these maps.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're very helpful when you start studying. But those idols were put in Dan, the calf, and Bethel. Okay, if you look, they don't get all the way down into Jerusalem. You see where Jerusalem is? That's where people were supposed to go to worship. When they
Bethel's right here.
well, these evil people put these.
Where's Jerusalem?
Huh?
Down
See where
Right here.
Benjamin? See
And
Benjamin?
Benjamin.
I see it. No, I see it.
Bethel. Yeah.
Okay.
Right under.
I was thinking that was a lake or something.
No, that's a tribe. The only lakes you're going to see there is the Dead Sea.
Dead Sea.
And the Sea of Galilee, which isn't even marked as the Sea of Galilee, or
Yeah,
the sea,
here.
but the word Chinnereth is right above there. That's why they called it the Sea of Chinnereth at one point.
It's the same place.
Tiberias is not too far from there because it was close to Mount Tabor. They called it the Sea of Tiberias in there.
Oh.
It's all just in naming. But we'll begin on page 34. We're out of time for tonight. And we'll begin on 34 next week. Do read as your schedule. I think it takes you to page 44. Let's see, 34. Yeah, read from page 35. For next week, go ahead and read through 46. I've got 44 on here, but read 35 through 46. And we'll get started on Joel. Amos starts on 46, and that's why I say read it through 46. We won't probably go into Amos, but we'll finish Joel. We'll do all the end of Hosea and all of Joel next week. Okay?
Thank you.
That's what we got for tonight, and I will terminate our class at this moment.
It's very interesting.
Thank you for your attention, your attendance tonight.